because when you talk about that big old shift, and sometimes you've made it sound like it was a really explosive change, and I imagine that the dark times after losing your dad were a really big push, but you almost describe it as a little bit of a corrosive action. So it kind of just gradually eats away kind of what's going on here. You're still having a lot of fun. Can you describe what that feels like? How did that show up for you?
Yeah, well said. The corrosive is a good way to describe it. It's, I find that we distract ourselves when we're not living our purpose. I did some men's work way back in the early 2000s, and he said it this way very simply: either you're addicted or you're on purpose. And to really feel it's like you're either distracting or addicted to something, avoiding, what we do, right? So it's sex, drugs, anything to avoid our reality, shopping, social media, too much television. We're just, right? We're just doing all these things. So feeling into that this isn't working. I'm completely distracting myself. Something needs to shift. I can feel it somewhere. It's like it's just that irky kind of corrosive. That's such a great word for it. I've never heard someone describe it. So fortunately and unfortunately, we have that moment in our lives to finally look within and to finally be forced to slow down enough to really listen, to really feel. And you'll notice I'm even taking small little breaks between when I'm communicating to tune in a little bit. So being clairsentient and an empath, a high empath, like that plagued me for a long time too. So there was both in parallel, both the corrosion happening, but also this gift that was emerging, that was being stuffed down and avoided with distraction and addiction.
Yeah.
And I love the saying, fear is excitement without the breath. And oftentimes, we're just not breathing. We're not tuning in enough to the present moment to feel it and to speak from that space. So I'm running around ignoring that beauty of the space that's available to all of us, just distracted, addicted. And, and sometimes we have something that happens enough to slow us down to really tune in. Yeah.
And just in that short response, you've given so much wisdom, and the way that resonates for me in my own burnout story was to the outside world, you're up there. You're hugely successful. You're living the kind of life that loads of people would envy. For me, it was international speaking, kind of earning well, great family, blah, 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 blah. But it was feeling more and more like a sugar rush. And so you'd have it and then it would go. And then you'd have it and then it'd go. And it wasn't really filling a need. It was, and each time you'd push it further, but the hit was smaller. Just like, but again, kind of in a way, I'm so grateful that you brought us to that to begin with, because for a lot of people, they will see self-sabotage as addiction to drugs or alcohol or behaviors that get in the way, perhaps even people pleasing. That was the conversation I had with my co-host. Actually, we can sabotage our true path by being addicted to work or to the wrong work, or being busy and so busy, or being kind of this outward success model that's actually more of a float, more of a disguise than you realize.
Well said. I'm feeling into that as you're sharing it. Like, yep, just checking all those things off along the path of self-discovery and awakening. Sometimes we need well, unfortunately, most people need that defining moment to really be the genesis for them to open up to something deeper. I want to believe that we don't need that, but I've found that most need God to God, universe, source to shove them into their purpose, you know. Yeah. The trauma becomes such a beautiful, beautiful opportunity. But I will say this. I was asking for a long time. I didn't know I was asking, right? I was like, man, please, something needs to shift. I'm ready. But during that process of wailing and being in deep pain, wailing, just bawling, wailing, finally breaking down so much in the hallway of my condo here in Orange County and asking with so much intensity for my purpose to show up, like, please, I do not want to die with my voice still in me like my father did. I watched him suffer so much because he was so gifted having that same clairsentient and empath thing, but he didn't know what it was. And to be able to finally say, I'm ready to step into whatever this is, like,